Welcome, everybody. You've built a map.
We've been through 3 seasons of understanding mental health in the modern world.
Season 4 is building on the understanding.
This season, we're going to go domain by domain: work, home, digital, relationships, identity, and take a look at what it actually means to design the spaces that you're occupying.
Not optimize it, not discipline your way through it.
Create it,
Either you're designing your field.
or something else is.
Welcome to Roaming Mind Season 4.
I don't know about you, but I do know, I feel like I can say this with some confidence, that this is a fairly common experience of people come into certain points in time in their lives and not recognizing the person that they've become.
Yeah, I can get behind that point.
And maybe not even just, it's not just about not knowing who you've become, because I think to some extent we kind of know who we become, we understand, but maybe that we didn't actively choose. And I'll give you kind of maybe not an understanding, but at least an example. When I was younger, I woke up one day and realized I had been self-medicating for a couple of years and been like, how in the did I get here? And it wasn't like, I know with I can say with 100% certainty, I didn't sit there and was like, over the next 3 years, what I really want to do is throw my life into the toilet. That's what I'm going for. That there was never a point in time where that happened. There was just, I need relief from me and this. That wasn't that. Yes, I chose in that moment what I wanted, but I did not choose the circumstances that it led to in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's common amongst our younger selves. And I understand, like, we could argue some people never come out of it, some people don't. Uh, or some people come out of it sooner than others. But there comes a certain point in time where we recognize that, and then we have to be like, okay, who do I want to become? What do I want my life to look like? If I look back and I see that these choices led me to here, how can I look back and have different choices that will lead me to a different point? I think that that's fairly common with, I think it's just a natural part of growing up a lot of the time. Just because if you look at younger kids, but anything below 18, there's probably some statistical, yuck, that because you know what that means. Uh, statistical anomalies that right. Some statistical anomalies that will exist before 18. You'll get some that happen at 14, some that happen at 10, whatever. Those are not, I don't think that those are the norm. Most are going to have that happen after 18 because they're still too busy trading short-term comfort for long-term outcomes. And so again, that's why I say as we grow, this just kind of becomes a thing that we go through. We just kind of look up and we're like, damn, dude, how'd I get here?
Yeah, and it's also because it's hard because you also don't know how you got here because you can even look back at your life that you can't even fathom because it's not specific decisions. Because sometimes you can be like, okay, I made this one choice and that's why I led my life to here. But sometimes you can't even pinpoint what the initial thing. Well, you can pinpoint when you quote unquote veer off the path that you may have desired for yourself,
Mhm,
but you can't pinpoint the specific incident that led. Oh, I should say you cannot always.
mhm.
I should not speak in generalizations. Pinpoint those things that led you to there because you sit back, you look, you go, how? and why am I here? Like,
Mhm.
is is this what I want? And most of the time, it's also because of the idealize of what we think our life will be at certain moment that makes us think think like that. Because you're like, oh, when you're 13, it's easy to say by age 25, I'll be married, have these kids, have this job, have this thing. But then as life happens, happens, and then you're 25, and you go, wait, how am I here?
I so there's a couple of things in there. One of the things that you almost immediately touched on was memory. Not everybody's memory is like a steel trap, and so we don't always remember some of the events that happen. I remember each and every fucking decision that led me to exactly where I got to, not because I'm some sort of weird superhuman, just because that's a specific cognitive aspect of my life that has always been exceptional for some reason. Don't ask me why. The other thing that you were talking about, because what that brings up very indirectly, it's just how I made those connections, right? Is we talk about trade-offs. And it kind of segues us perfectly to talk about kind of what we tend to fall into. So we constantly make those trade-offs. And as I said, when we're young, we trade short-term comfort for long-term gain.
Mhm,
As we get older, we tend to do more of the latter and less of the former, ideally, if our situation so allows that.
mhm,
But during that time, we consistently begin to make trade-offs. So if
yeah.
I want to have a kid by the time I'm 25, but just taking your example.
Well, I didn't wanna have by the way, did not wanna have a
I
kid
no,
when I
no,
was
no, no, I
25.
understand. No, I'm not saying it was for you. I'm just trying to keep the
Okay.
example consistent.
I just want telling the people,
I got you.
just letting the people know.
So you have that, and then you're going through the motions and whatever, and maybe you're dating somebody and you're like, God, this person sucks. I don't want to be with these assholes. And so you're like, oh, no thanks. I don't want anything to do with you. Maybe that happens at 23 and a half. And what are you going to do? Just go and find a new mate in the next month or two so that you can get pregnant by 24 and 3 months? That's unrealistic. Is it? Or 20?
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
some
that's
people
right.
so
I sure, but this is what I'm talking. These are trade-offs. These are the things that we are constantly interplaying with inside of our mind, whether we are consciously aware of them or not. And so that is very important to think about because those are the moments that determine whether or not we just mm, drift through and go and live life,
mhm,
or if we are actually deciding and dictating how it is that we want things to go. There are certain things that are always going to be beyond our control,
yes.
the events that come back, whatever, but the actual actions and the actual moving into the choices that we make are ultimately decide whether or not we are, I'm going to call it living intentionally
I was
or
gonna say,
just live.
writing your life. Are you
Yeah.
writing your life or letting life live you
Mhm.
by?
Right. And that's why I use the word intentional
Mhm,
because a lot of those times those choices aren't intentional. They just happen. And not because we're bad people, not because of whatever, but especially in today's modern society, shit dude, it is fast paced. It is bam, 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 bam. Who has time to sit there and think about, oh, I said I wanted to be married by the time I was 25, and now I'm not going to get there because I just broke up with my boy toy and I got 2 months left. Shit, this is a problem. Who knows?
no.
The excuse- the actual thought process may vary, but the outcome remains the same. The events, unsuspected events and what that turned into, while it varies, that situation itself at its core remains consistent across any
Mhm,
example that we could come into. And, you know, a lot of us, especially these days, I shouldn't say a lot of us who have already pushed beyond that moment that we are kind of talking about, or maybe in it, or trying to move beyond it.
Mhm.
Multiple different think about it like a spectrum from 0, I've done nothing, or I'm just approaching, or we've fully self-actualized, whatever. Never mind. I don't like self-actualized. Fully reached that awareness level.
Mhm.
You can exist anywhere on this spectrum. There's no saying it's here or here. But what we tend to move into is we try to optimize. That's a big one. I know for me, I'm constantly trying to optimize certain
Oh,
things, trying to
yeah.
optimize sleep, diet, habits, all of these things. And not that it's bad, but it requires us to work harder. Again,
Yes.
talking about those trade-offs. If I have to work harder, well, trade some time from over here. I'm going to trade some time from over here so that I can work a little bit harder so that maybe I can become the person that I want to, maybe not. But that's not necessarily authoring. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily choosing that intentional way of being.
Mhm.
And then we also have, and I know I've fallen victim to both of these, that reinvention. I'm just gonna reinvent myself. I'm just gonna, and I do, I've done it many times throughout my life. I've become different people constantly. Just shit. I did it with my fucking hair this past, not this week, last week. I was like, I don't know what to do with it. So just torch it, shave that shit off. What does it matter? It's going to grow back anyway. But I don't feel like dealing with it now. So shave it and I'll deal with it in 3 weeks, or maybe a month and a half. 3 weeks is a little ambitious. I'm getting
Right,
older.
you have a little scruff, you have a little
Yeah,
something
yeah,
moving.
yeah. I didn't go completely bald. I just went mostly bald. And so I think that this is the key. And this is the reframe that we want to be able to provide when it comes to living the life that you want and playing an active conscious role in determining what that life looks like. We are talking about living with intention. It's not a project to be completed. There are not goals. This isn't a homework assignment. It's not an end of the year paper. It is not, I don't know. It's not a deadline.
Uh, because here's the thing about life, you don't know when your deadline is. There is no like, there is a deadline to life, but you don't know when it is. For all you know, it could be this afternoon, or it could be 100 years from now. You could be one of the lucky people who gets like 120 something, 130 something. So without knowing when it ends, you can't re it's okay to have goals, but you can't set deadline to those goals, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
I I guess all I meant by that is your life is not a goal oriented outcome. We know what the outcome is. We just alluded to it pretty heavily. That's the outcome. That's the only outcome that you will inevitably achieve in this lifetime. Or let me rephrase that are guaranteed to achieve currently. And so that's why I say we want to get away from this idea of not a goal-oriented life. I don't like that.
Yeah, because I was
I
gonna
know,
say
I really don't like that. I really hate it because that implies that, like,
you
don't set
should have
goals.
goals. Yeah.
No, that's far from what I'm saying. It is when it comes to creating the life that you want to live, okay? And living with intention, that is not a goal. That is a relationship that you develop
Very deep.
with you that you continue to refine and inhabit over time.
Yeah, that makes more sense because when it's not that we're saying that you shouldn't have goals, because goals are part of
Mhm.
life. You want to make money, you need to have certain goals and certain steps in order to, make money. And it does intertwine with with living intention, because those goals are going to intertwine with how living with intention and how you want your life and outcome to look. So it's not that we're saying that you shouldn't have goals. What we're saying is you should live your life with intention and with, I don't want to use the word purpose. It's so, ugh.
So and maybe this will kind of sum it up. Purpose is good because we do need purpose. What happens when we don't have purpose? We're like, I don't know what to do. But when it comes to creating the life that you want to live, I'm not talking about you controlling the outcomes. I'm not talking about you controlling your life. I'm not talking about any of that. We are talking about active participation in your day-to-day life. And that's what we miss
Mhm.
most of the time because we're too busy. Oh, I have to achieve this goal. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. And that is what we want to we want to get away from focusing strictly on. We want to be able to show up for life when it occurs and be an active participant. This is the basis of all mindfulness meditation. Coming to center so that you are fully present in that moment to be able to react in a way that you have chosen with intention in that moment, as opposed to, does this get me to my goal? Does it not? Check, check. L- Living like that, where you're just checking out goals, autonomic nervous system, because those processes just run in the background.
So yeah, of your autonomic, then you have those both of those. It's like subcategories. It's like there's a chart that goes layers.
But the autonomic nervous system exists at the base of the brain.
Yeah,
That encompasses the regions at the base of the brain, feeds into the brainstem, and that's what's sending all of those signals constantly. And then
yeah.
we have that higher level in the cortex and everything. And see, but when we think about it like that, okay, so we have those two elements and those two areas that are working together that are ideally, one is not dominating, but that doesn't tend to be the case. When we are living in those check, 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 our autonomic nervous system is the one that is taking over. It's the one that is saying, all right, well, did I meet this goal? Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? But when we are living with intention and when we are showing up and we are playing an active role, we are operating at that higher level. We are operating at that cortex level. And that is really I think that's what we've been talking about ever since day one, is how do we get away from that autonomic response into higher levels of thinking so that we can go ahead and live more intentionally. I know we've taken a very, very roundabout way to get there, but that's because we started at the beginning and are working our way through. And interestingly enough, maybe I find this super duper interesting. The more efficiently our brain is working, the more, well, I don't like that. The more efficiently we are operating typically tends to mean that we are operating at those higher levels. And when we are more sick, when we're sick, when things aren't going our way, we tend to be relying upon those more automatic ways of responding. And there are direct links, um, linking meditation with those higher level processes. Um, it really is super. And what I found interesting is that it's not all related to optimizing. We were talking about the pulvinar nucleus the other week and how it aids our attentional processes, not because it optimizes attention or anything else. It actually makes the pulvinar work harder, which is in most circles will be agreed that's not an optimization thing. But given that it's working harder, it's communicating more effectively with everything else. And that is what actually brings about our higher level or more what do I want to call that? I want to call it more optimized state of being, but I that's horrible. So
More balanced. Mm,
say more intentional state of being.
that
I'll take
works.
that. And again, we see it, we see this regularly. Um I don't know about you, but I've talked to a fair amount of people in my lifetime that are like, I don't know why I did this. Why did I do this? What was I thinking? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Squeeze me.
That's the people saying, keep my name out of your mouth."
Yeah, you know what I mean? You know, I especially I see it a lot in teaching. Many teachers that I've talked to did not choose teaching.
True.
Many of them. It's amazing how that happened. I don't know why.
Ain't nobody wanted you these badass kids.
Well, it's just so fascinating because I was sitting at work the other day and I was talking to the 2 people that are right in my little vicinity. So that's 3 out of 8 of our department, and we were like, neither one of us went to school for teaching. Neither one of us actually thought that teaching was gonna be an option. It just kind of presented itself and we showed up to the party and participated. Um, whether that's Whether that's a good thing or not, who knows? But it's it's something that happens more frequently than not. I know it's not only a thing for teaching. Uh, People there are 100% people who go to medical school, become doctors, and then are like, "Fuck, I didn't wanna do
Yes.
this." You have famous examples of that. I can't think of what his name is. I can only think of him as Mr. Chow. It's
Oh,
Ken.
Ken Jong.
There we go. Yeah, I knew it was Ken something, and I knew I was gonna butcher it, but
Yeah.
he was medical doctor, decided to go become a comedian.
No, there's actually a lot of example. People go, you think a thing, you spend God knows time, money, energy doing the thing, and then you get it, you go, actually, no,
Right.
no.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Mhm.
and
Ye
speaking of, that's actually one of my fears. I'm like, oh God, imagine you wake up one day, you go, no.
Mhm. And I think we have a common misconception of what that what's possible with authorship and what it actually looks like. Um we sit back and we're like, oh, I am manifesting this. I'm so tired of hearing people going, I'm manifesting.
No,
Shut up. No.
let the let I'm for the people. If it works and you gonna be better, you can have it.
Dude, man, okay. The reality is that for some people, manifestation is going to work. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I genuinely am saying that in neuroscience has proven that if we don't know about the alternative, we will believe anything. Correct?
Yeah.
That's nothing new. That's not a shot out of left field. So you have to, and on some level, be a little slow in order to
I cannot
believe
endorse this
that
situation. Get
I'm
better.
sorry.
Get him.
I mean,
He's
I don't
literally
know.
on
Look,
top of me. Get him.
come on, man. Maybe slow isn't the right word. Maybe it's you have to be a little bit ignorant and a little bit oblivious to
I could be
believe
better.
to believe that me telling myself something over and over again is actually going to work. Because if not, reality gets in the way every single time.
That is true, but it's look, you and I understand why it works. It's because once you start stating it, then you start believing it, and then you start slowly making progress toward said thing. But
Right.
we understand how it works. But if I am trying to be nice here, AJ.
I hear you. It's a good change to switch roles for once. But
I'm usually negative. I usually call everybody stupid. I'm trying to be nice.
right. But that's I just it boggles my mind. And typically the ones that actually believe that and that actually it ends up working for, they tend to be people who I would not consider to be the sharpest tools in the shed. And I don't, like I said, I don't mean that in a bad way. It worked out for them. I'm happy. Good for them. Let me think, and I'm just going to think about my wildest desires, and they're going to. I've been thinking about my wildest desires for my entire fucking life. Do you know the only thing that has ever gotten me tangible outcomes? Actions. Because what I'm doing is the only thing that matters. We talked about this when we talked about identity. I,
I mean, yes. Or you could even think of it in in simple effect. If I am sick with a disease and I sit there and I said, let me just think about getting better. Not that it hasn't happened in the course of human history before that, people sometimes you just think about getting better and you do because
mhm,
weirder things have happened.
mhm.
But on the aggregate, on the whole, if you sit there and be like, I'm going to get better, usually you don't, you get worse. It's when you take actions and you go seek medical help and there's treatment involved, medication, and things of that nature that you will see change.
So typically, though, that's how that works. We start to say, "I'm going to get better," and what happens is not we get better because we told ourselves we were going to get better. We tell ourselves that we're going to get better, and then we begin to take actions that are aligned with those things. We drastically change, in the example of sick, drastically change diet to an anti-inflammatory diet, and these things begin to magically start, not magically
Not
because it's not
magically.
magic, it's clearly biology, but it seems like magic because we weren't doing that for so long. We're like, son of a bitch, I'm cured. That's a thing. But again, it's because actions followed intention. And that's what we are talking about, living intentionally. And so when actions follow intention like that, that's where we begin to see that manifestation occur. And so again, this is why I say with people who I consider to be not the sharpest tools in the shed, the intention and the actions follow because they don't understand anything any different. There's not any concept of this is reality. They're just, I went and I did it. Yeah. hmm And not that that's not that that's a problem or an issue.
Mhm.
It's just what it is. So what we've I don't want to say we've gotten off topic because I do think that that was necessary information in order to move forward. But what does that mean if you want to actually author your life? Well, okay, you start with a very small piece. You identify where the current gap is, whatever that looks like. I'm here and I want to be here.
Yeah.
Uh cool. What's the smallest action that you can take from here to here? Typically, that starts with belief, okay? And I will tell you, this is that's the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy. Let's begin to start changing those beliefs because in no way, shape, or form can you take action to get to here if you have negative self beliefs. Therein again is supporting my case for the not so sharpest tool in the shed. They don't have those same negative beliefs because they think that they're absolutely Wonderful. They're not aware of anything else. Again, sorry, I'm just going to keep coming back to why I don't.
AJ hates stupid people, guys.
Yeah, well, that is a given, but we're not supposed to say that out loud. No. So, again, if we try to redesign the thing from the ground up from the very beginning, we're bound to fail because we can't take all of those necessary actions. But if we can start to begin to just take one action at a time, it compounds. It's just like investing money over time in stock market or in a 401k. That stuff tends to compound and we get more and you're like, wow, this is incredible. However, and this is one of the biggest problems, it takes a severe toll emotionally. It's not all right, so especially, let's start with at the most basic at cognitive behavioral. When we go and we start identifying some of those negative thought patterns, or just the thought patterns that get us to wherever, we are naturally gonna wanna hold on to them.
Hmm.
Why? Because predictive processing, and as we get older, we just wanna be able to predict more and keep it safe and contained and tighten it.
Yeah.
That's not going to be possible if we don't break out of that predictive processing loop. That carries severe emotional weight because our emotions are reactive. They're reactive and they're instinctive. They're not necessary. Our emotions aren't always how we describe emotions are a part of higher cortex thinking, but the experience of the emotion happens at that autonomic nervous system level. Fear, flight, fight, all of those happen lower. Not a bad thing. That's just the way that it
Happen.
is. So we are going to hit more emotional walls trying to access those higher level orders of thinking. This is why it's much easier to do when you're young than when you get old because you're not as ingrained in those ways of thinking. You're not um you haven't you've been through about a fraction of what you're ultimately going to end up going through. It's just a little bit more simple. It is guaranteed to take an emotional toll on you when you begin to start taking these actions and to start living intentionally. And then, especially at what stage you're doing it at, if you move beyond college, you've gotten a little bit of self awareness and you've experienced defeat and doubt, it's not always easy to be like, oh, yeah, let me go live with intention and hope that things work out for the best. I've known from prior experience that it doesn't. Ouch. That hurts. I don't like that.
Well,
Right.
well, I mean, part of life is taking action. There is some ownership that you have to take. And I think maybe that's where a lot of people, am I gonna be mean now? Go wrong. And
No, I mean, we all gone wrong at some point.
they don't take ownership. It's like everything is somebody else's fault, everything's happening to you, nothing is even if in the best case possible, you also play a part. Whatever we as people in every situation, even if things are happening to us, we play a part in said situation. The responsibility might be like 95% somebody, even 100%, like in a legal way, it's 100% the other person's fault. But you also were there and you contributed to the situation. So you have to And I know it's hard to really be like, what part did I play in it when sometimes it seems like you didn't play a part in it.
Yes. It that is I so that is super difficult. I actually had this conversation, with a, student, uh, yesterday because somebody was like, "You make people feel bad." And I was like, "I can't make people feel bad. That's impossible. I can say mean things.
Okay.
I can say terrible things, but under no circumstances can I make somebody feel bad. It doesn't work. I don't have control over that person's emotions." And it blew their mind because I was like, "What do we call it when people feel bad about themselves? And what do we say that affects?" I guess is more the question.
Mhm.
Do you know the answer?
The self-esteem, I'm assuming that's what you're getting at?
Self-esteem. Yes, exactly. They call it self-esteem. Why do they call it self-esteem? Because it's what we believe about ourselves, not what it is that other people believe about us. So the only thing that we get upset about when somebody goes ahead and says something mean to us is it verifies something that we believe about ourselves in the first place. So what is the right answer? Going and fixing what it is that we believe about ourselves in the first place. Now I know that that was definitely a side tangent, and that's okay. But I do think that that needs to be it needs to be an understanding.
It's like a part nobody is in charge of their emotion. Even they can say like, "Look, is it right to say those things potentially that you were saying? Is it right?" No, that doesn't make it right. That's not we're not necessarily saying what the other person is saying is right. We're just saying that you are ultimately in charge of your emotions, and you it sucks that the other person is an asshole. You can't control them being an asshole. That is a choice they've made. That's just the truth of it. So what you can control is your reaction
Mhm.
to that. The harder to control your emotions because sometimes you're just overcome with them, and that's neither here nor there. But you can control your reaction and reflect on it.
Again, it all comes back to intention. It doesn't seem like it because it seems different, but living with that intention, you said it yourself, you're gonna chances are you're gonna have an emotional attachment or reaction. The response is what therein lies your decision because the response is the and right? And so again, those actions are what dictates things like identity, what our life ends up of the outcomes with which we find ourselves a part of. The actions dictate absolutely everything. Where do they start from? Those beliefs, core experiences, identities, all of these things play a role. And that is why it is significantly more complicated to come to authorship because there's so many different aspects of all of these things. But when we start living with intention, when we are present, when we are responding to life instead of just automatically coming in and rolling,
Hmm.
we have the chance to dictate the action.
That's it.
We have a chance to be able to say, okay, in this moment, this is the outcome that I want. So let me go ahead and take the action that is going to get me there. And so
Makes sense.
I think that that is the perfect place for our reflection because if not, we could potentially go off on some random side tangent
Some
that they all
wonderful
seem like
tactics.
side tangent, but I don't think any of them actually
No,
were
no,
side tangents.
it's not because it works. The way the topics is, you talk a little bit about something that it all flows together. It may not
Mhm.
seem all coherently kind of zoomed out skill. They may not all seem related, but it works. Trust me. And at least I'm crazy, so you can only trust
No,
me. Yes.
I don't think it's a matter of crazy. I think that they were it's not even that they're side tangent, they just got very abstract, and I think really we just wanna kind of try to keep it as concrete as possible because while I love abstract thinking as much as the next person, not everybody loves my abstract way of thinking. No. And so we've done this for quite a while now. We're 6 episodes into this season, and we've looked at different fields and how they play into all of these very different mechanisms. And so the reflection really kind of comes down to where in your life are you just adapting to what is going on in your field rather than, and we can say authoring, but rather than responding and operating in means that you actively chose. Did you choose that response or did you just let it happen and then go? And that's, it's okay either way. Don't hold judgment there. Just determine, is this it or not?
Yeah, I think I got it. Life is always constantly changing, and well, the one thing that we've always talked about, there are two things between seasons that has come across pretty much every episode that we've done, and it's self-reflection
Hmm.
and autonomy. And
Hmm.
those two things go hand in hand in figuring out authorship and knowing how you want your life to go. Look, things happen. You can one day you can wake up and go, I'm 45 years old and how did I get here? And it's okay. You've identified that maybe that's not where you want to be, and you can start not reconstructing because but choosing and actively going for what you want your life to be. Just how as as more proactive people do, they always have the intentionality behind their life and make choices and choose actions to reflect those intentions and reflect what they want ultimately out of life.
That's where we'll leave it for today.
You don't need to do anything with it right now.
Each episode this season will end with a question worth carrying.
Not an answer, just a place to look.
If this is your first time here, you're welcome to follow the show. New episodes drop weekly.
And if you want to go deeper, find us at theactive.com.
We'll be back next week.
Until then, notice what you're already designing your field.
And whether that's by choice.